Oh, I do believe in all the things you say. What comes is better than what came before. And you better come to me. Better come to me. Better run to me. Better come. Oh, I do believe in all the things you say. What comes is better than what came before. And you better run to me. Better run to me. Better come to me. Better run.
Leary saw surfers as the throwaheads of mankind versus the dregs of mankind versus the irresponsible sector of mankind. And he described the highest destiny of man on earth as a form of existence in the universe as evolving towards a purely aesthetic state. That was the goal, the highest possible goal that man could attain as a species. Historically, man had evolved around building city-states on the bluff for protection next to the river, for commerce, and was trying to store more acorns than he needed to eat that day. And the more acorns he could store, the more successful he was as a person. Well, Larry said that was all a false deity, a false reason for living, that really the dance was everything, and that surfers had discovered this before any other tribe on earth, and they were the living example of man to be emulated. He said surfers were the perfect example of be here now, the tube ride in which you're living for that exact instant on the continuum of time where the tube is folding over your head, your wake is disappearing into the back of the wave, your footprints are washed from the sand, that it's totally about being where you are at that instant. It's not about where you're going to be or where you've been, it's about where you are as each instant unfolds. And that surfers live for that, and that they design their lives around having it as much as they can, and that was, in a sense, the highest level of attainment that man can seek in his life on earth. And he also said that if you believed in that, you had to work to make it, to lead man to that goal. You couldn't just lay back and passively let other people carry the challenge and fight for that. You had to actually be a proponent of it and be a firm advocate of it and work hard to try and lead man to that place. And so I began to see mankind as a tribe whose participation in the total social order was to carry that message and to talk about the importance of maintaining the interface between the land and ocean, and helping people to realize that life was not about acquisition of wealth so much as it was about the dance. And once, because of that conversation with Leary, a friend of mine coined a term, reified. It kind of reified in me that it was okay to be a surfer and to spend your life seeking the ride and having the ride. And even as I grow older and the way I ride becomes atrophied, as my mind kind of takes over for my body, as my body falls away, the sum total of the effort is still equals 100%. So even as my experience in the water becomes simplified, the joy I get from it and the reward I get from it still is whole and round and fully worth having.
Recently, the old man was saying he's pretty freaked out because the wave actually doubled up from a 2-footer, into like a 3 to 4 foot double up into Greenie, and I was on the front, I was 4 years old, I could kind of swim, but we were just flying across this wave, and he's basically behind me standing up, and when I was going that fast and just freaking out at the speed, and looking at the curve of the wave come around me, and I didn't know what a barrel was. I've never been told what a barrel is, or being inside a wave or anything. But yeah, that was a pretty amazing experience.
it's just great to have your old man as a shaper, so you can work so closely with him and really explain all the things that you want to do, so I don't hold back at all. I can work off his wealth of knowledge and interpret things through him and with him, so we can sort of blend ideas and come up with kind of new ways of riding waves, I guess. That involves speed and power, so yeah, that's a great one. I saw Derek Hind in Litmus at a time when I was kind of ready to really feel surfing's purity, I guess, or experiment with surfboards, and he just blew me away with the speed and the high lines that he was achieving with those twin fin keel skip fry boards. He was really amazing to watch and really inspired me to feel some of those feelings. I could just see it popping through the screen. Tried some Dave Parmenter Widows, which is a big back fin and two small side fins. At the time and still now, I guess, it feels like the perfect balance between glide and power. I've found a lot of joy in riding those. They really hold in off the bottom, and they're great for tube riding, and they've got a really nice down the line speed. Yeah, they were great. Like the boards that I rode felt really nice with the channels. I think they work perfectly. I've personally always liked a single concave into a double concave, and we accentuated the double concave more into a bonzer like concave in the tail, and mess with the side fins a little bit, just fine tune them really from what Dave had. Tried a lot of fins in the back of those boards, and I guess for different conditions, you need different fins. So yeah, they feel great, and they especially feel great when there's a bit of power in a wave. So I love that. I like powerful waves. So.
For me, personally, I would think that it's a bit of a curse to be a goofy footer here, but there's guys that have completely not only overcome it, but taken it to another level. No one more than Neil Purchase. Akira, he's just something else. And this bank out here, the super bank, Neil gets the best tube rides of anyone. He's got an embryonic approach to tube riding where he actually goes comfortably behind the foam ball, and in fact, when you think about it, you can actually only do it on your back end.
It's just great. I'm just so stoked. My father was involved in surfing, and he's taught me how to surf, and I've just received so much joy from being a surfer. So I really want my family and to know what that's like to surf and to appreciate the ocean and have that as a part of your life. So we head down the beach whenever we can all together and take turns in surfing and teaching the girls, and they love surfing. So it's just great. I really appreciate seeing them having fun out there.
Saw some local guys just getting some perfect waves, just unbelievable. It was just really cool seeing Rabbit get a few waves, just because you always saw him in magazines and saw him riding perfect waves and just really stylish, getting long barrels at Kira or wherever, and it was just really cool to be able to see that he's still doing that, and be able to see it firsthand. It was cool just standing there watching him go by. I was like, oh, there's Rabbit on another wave, and then he put his arms behind his back. I was just kind of hooted because I was like, oh, that's cool, because I remember watching him in old movies and seeing him in magazines doing that. Which way will you run? I think he'd always wanted to see if he could make a modern kind of surfboard and see if it worked well. And I think to make it for his son was kind of like really unique and special kind of thing. So I was honored basically, and it was fun, You don't see
but riding that board was like riding Curran's psyche. Pat was really an extremist. He'd sit outside, wait for the biggest wave of the biggest set, and those were his waves. And that's the way he rode them, was high and tight, behind the boil. He had his own line at Waimea, and it was a high line. And so he made boards for the Curran line, which was a different line. It was a high diagonal cut across the face instead of dropping to the bottom and running along the bottom. So he made boards that would cling to the face and trim and cut chop. He comes from an era where people basically made their own tools and their own toys, like Joe Quigg and all those guys. From that era, people, if they wanted a surfboard, they had to make one because there was no one that made and sold surfboards for a living. And so Pat's a holdover from that time that was like a frontiersman time in the American West, where if you wanted a house, you had to build it. If you wanted a wagon, you had to cut a tree, mill the wood. You know, you had to know how to do that stuff. Yeah, having him make a board for his son would be really marvelous to watch. That would be like watching a master violin builder build an instrument to play himself or something. Yeah.
Singing tunes, bending like a willow tree. If he only knew how much of him is me. Full moon on the rise, circle of city trees. The old man sings a lullaby. Tonight's the night she falls asleep on me. Threatening rain all day, bats howling in the trees. The old man sings a tune he's been singing since '63. Could be those times have changed, still nothing stays the same. The old man sings the blues in the pouring rain. Ooh. who's gonna save you? And who do you love? Who do you love? For the wind to blow. Show is over, time to go. The old man singing in the street.
It looked like it would work. Paddling it for the first time, it felt, you're really on top of the water because it's a lot of foam, but at the same time, it just felt nice in turns. Going as fast as you want, and felt like the more challenging the situation in the wave, the better it would respond.
Yeah, who's gonna save you? And who do you love? Who do you love? These old men singing tunes, bent beyond belief. If they only knew how much of them is me. Who do you love? Who do you love?
I guess the story is he went to the North Shore one year and went back and shaped boards during the following summer, just designing those for what he thought would be the right design, and he went back with the right boards, and he was really a standout in that crew, the handful of guys. It's awesome, what he did on the big waves back then, and the added plus there is that his boards were actually state of the art and still are really contemporary for that size of wave, and for how much you need to paddle to get into those waves.
I think it really stoked him out to ride the board up. I mean, he just he loved riding it. He just liked the way it worked, and I think it had a lot a lot to do with, because I mean his dad made it, and his dad wrote it in Big Surf, and it was kind of like sentimentally special for him, you know. Like, you know, I'm riding my dad's board that he made with his hands. It's made of wood, you know. It's like, I mean, it seems like to any son it would be a pretty cool thing, you know, if you're able to go out and ride big waves in it like his dad did, you know, at a time when there was no money involved. It was just kind of like, it's just kind of special, and it means a lot to someone, I think, to do that. It's not like he was doing it for any other reason than it was just personal.
Why can't we remember?
He was an absolute artist, Michael, when you think about it. You know, he was so introverted in lots of ways, you know. I mean, I remember one time I went to do an interview with him for Tracks, and I remember so clearly, we were sitting out at Long Reef in the car, looking at the ocean. And I can't remember the questions that I was talking to him about. You know, maybe it was in the questions, but I asked him the questions and like nothing came out.
Yes.
I had an empty tape. And yet I would consider him one of the most, you know, intelligently creative people in the surfing period.
Yeah.
Because what he did, he was like a real artist. The way he used the wave and his ability as a surfer to reflect what he really was. You know, some people paint pictures and they go, and you look at the picture and you go, wow, that's really great. But the painter hasn't got much to say. You know, you can talk to him and he might be one of those people that nothing comes out, and yet everything comes out in his painting, and it's so beautiful, and you look at the painting and you go, this man is truly beautiful. You know? And I think that's what Michael was. You know, he was inarticulate, but incredibly creative, you know, I think, in his surfing. And I think probably that's why, you know, people maybe through the photo can, identify with that or recognise something in it.
In a field that's golden, tricking the unknown, tripping at the edge, the dice already thrown. The inspector says it's over. It tells me on the phone we had no other number. How the seeds have grown, how the seeds have grown, how the seeds have grown. Oh, how I wish you could come back. Oh, how I wish you could come back. Lord, how I wish that you could come back. Lord, how I wish that you could come back. Now the days walk by like soldiers, marching to the sun. Each day I'm older, each day you are none.
Everyone knew that MP was king then. It was MP's parting shot to impart it, albeit generationally, from Mumbles further down to Hero. Herring remains the wonder child of Australian surfing just because of that lineage from MP down to DY. It's like looking or dreaming of looking at a little bit of MP. The future depends quite heavily on thinking about Shane Herring. Everyone needs to, at least all pro surfers need to think about the people that have just been left in the dust. If they don't, then the sport that they love is just crap.
was incredible to watch him develop actually as a surfer, because he just used to go, I remember for years he just went straight. He just used to go straight and not even do any turns. And I remember watching him going, what the fuck's he doing? You know, like, when's he going to do a turn? And it was just like he was just at his own speed, and he was just developing his style. And again, coming back to that style thing, like he was so focused on style. Style always was such a major focus, because you had guys like Russell Lewis and, well, that guy Brad Wybrew I was talking about, and yeah, all those, it was just really big. I kind of like that whole thing of just that kind of real compressing and extending, how you can really compress off the bottom and you just extend out into your turn and just kind of glide along and down. That's a really nice feeling.
Day to day. I need a crowd of people, but I can't face them day to day. For my problems are meaningless. That don't make them go away. I need a crowd of people, but I can't face them day to day.
So just the different spirit coming back into what had become sterile through, I think, people with a very sort of 1980s greedy good kind of aspect of, you know, and applying it to surfing, trying to, you know, apply it to the whole of the surfing culture. And it's obvious now, it made a lot of people money, and it allowed more people to work in the industry, and the industry grew. But there was the dark side of it, was that it was starting to lose its soul. And yeah, it's trying to find a way back in. There's all sorts of, you know, there's Oscar Wright, you know. I mean, that stuff's just fantastic. I mean, he, you know, that's him. You know, exactly. There's no mistaking it, you know. There needs to be a bit of cultural crossover instead of it just hanging in galleries or being sanitised, or it needs to be out there. People need to do it. We need an army of Aussie rights. You know? I want to see a stage where it's all right for people to just paint their own boards or get somebody to do it for them or whatever else, and not worry about paddling out. Surfing at its roots was always anti that sort of the cultural fascism that goes along with commercialism, because it needs to control. It's got to control a market, you know, to profit from it. So I don't think you can sit on top of surfers for too long. I think we've come through a bit of a bleak time. I get this feeling that there's been a decade or so that's been really quite barren.
Yeah.
You know, where are all the people that want to, you know, that maybe just want to go up the coast and paint paintings and go surfing or, you know, do whatever they want to do. You know, that are young enough to believe in themselves. You know. And still go and do it. And if you're doing that, well, you're not going to have much time to be aggro, to be, you know, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself, you know, a bit more self-possessed.
Get out of town. Think I'll get out of town. Get out of town. Think I'll get out of town. I head for the sticks with my busing friends. I follow the road, though I don't know where it ends. Get out of town. Get out of town. Think I'll get out of town. 'Cause the world is turning. I don't wanna see it turn away.
How's about your love? Something so hard you don't understand. How's about your love? That's something without any kind of plan. How they say that you be dreaming, they say that you be damned. When a man he ain't got nothing to love, he ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing but a blood on his shadow. How's about your love? Go so hard you don't understand. How's about your love? That girl without any kind of plan. How they say that you be dreaming, they say that you be damned. When a man he ain't got nothing to love, he ain't got nothing. No, he ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing but a blood on his shadow. How they say you are a fool in love, they say that you are blind. They say you got a line, love, to keep your love from dying. But a man who never put his faith in love, and he never started trying. He ain't got nothing. No, he ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing but a blood on his shadow. No, he ain't got nothing. No, he ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing but a blood on his shadow.
The pride of all Hawaii, surfing on an alu, appearing like a manu. You would think a moment he wore a feather garment. Oya noe ka oi. Duka Hanamoku, the idol of Hawaii, streaming in the ocean without the slightest notion that he'd become Kaulana throughout the good Honua. Oya noe ka oi. King Kamehameha conquered the island rule. Duka Hanamoku, he simply conquered all the waters and became the king of swimmers all. Duka Hanamoku, the pride of all Hawaii, surfing on an alu, appearing like a manu. You would think a moment he wore a feather garment. Oya noe ka oi. Conquered the island blue. Duka Hanamoku, he simply conquered all the waters and became the king of swimmers all. Duka Hanamoku, the pride of all Hawaii, surfing on an alu, appearing like a manu. You would think a moment he wore a feather garment. Oya noe ka oi.
But I talked about things that aggravated me, essentially, and sounded off about them. And one was prejudice in the water, and the lack of giving waves, which was a very. I like to think that in the Hawaiian culture of aloha, giving waves was like part of being confident about yourself, and the greater a surfer you were, the more you gave away instead of taking. And that in our culture, giving instead of taking is the important thing. And so, and there's a kind of a human, the presence of greed is kind of a human illness in the nature of man. And that's what is debilitating about man rather than surfing traveling the world. The ride itself is a pure dance. When it's encumbered with the good and bad things of man as they carry it around with them and look for it and conduct it, then that becomes a problem. So surfing itself, I don't think, is any problem. Riding waves is not a problem. Crowding, that means you have to ride fewer waves and give and allow others. Ultimately, the ability to ride waves is probably a finite resource, and it needs to be shared with more and more people. So as long as you're willing to share, it's okay. But I think man is basically still in the dark ages of his evolution. Towards what destiny, I'm not sure. The one that Leary painted is a comforting one, if that were to come true. And maybe that is trying to create a heaven on earth kind of reality for future generations. But certainly, so I think the potential lesson that surfing has to give is wonderful. And as a part of the matrix of the human condition, I think it's has a very nice role as a balancing component in things that people discover to do to give their life meaning.